guys, my name is Vidhi Kalra and welcome back to my channel 5 Minute Economics, where I teach economic concepts in a span of just 5 minutes. Well, welcome back to the demand series, and today we have the second video of the demand series. Well, in case you haven't watched the part 1, do watch it out. I'll attach its link in the comment section below, and today is the part 2, which is the law of demand. Well, in today's video, I'll be discussing what is the law of demand along with its assumptions, the demand schedule, the demand curve, extension, contraction, as well as increase and decrease in demand. So yeah, let's start the video. Also guys, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and do follow me on my Instagram handle 5 minute economics. So firstly guys, let me explain to you what exactly is the law of demand. So firstly, let's have a look at the board. Other factors remaining constant in ceteris paribus order, the quantity demanded of a commodity increases with the fall in price and decreases with the rise in price. Well, hold a minute. Just don't, remember what I'm saying or memorize this, but understand this completely, guys. As a normal consumer, anything which is less price, we tend to consume it more. But as the price of it increases, our consumption towards that commodity becomes less. Right, we all do so. So, knowingly or unknowingly, we are all following the law of demand. जैसे जैसे price बढ़ता है, our quantity demanded falls and vice versa. Well, what does ceteris paribus mean? Ceteris paribus is basically a Latin phrase. It's very commonly used in economics, which actually means other things remaining constant. So we can just use this term, or you can also write other things remaining constant. This adds to the, it highlights your definition, or it highlights your answer. So I would suggest you to use this phrase whenever writing the answer. So basically, law of demand states that price and quantity demanded always have an inverse or a negative relationship with each other. Isn't that? Well, guys, in economics, we also know that while studying any theory, you'll be studying economics ahead, and you will realize that every theory, most of it actually, I should be saying, has some assumptions, and we have to study those assumptions. Only then can we actually follow the theory. So, if this is the first time you're studying economics, get used to learning some assumptions, which always have to be kept in mind, because then only will our law, stand. True. So coming to our assumptions, no change in income. Now you will say why? Because obviously, if your income increases, you tend to consume more of a commodity, right? But in our case, we don't want to see that. We want to see only you are consuming the quantity more when the price is falling. We are not concerned with what's happening to the income. So the income is constant. Similarly, prices of other related commodities, be it substitutes, be it complementary goods, all of them are unchanged. Taste and preference, again, maybe I don't like that product anymore, so I'm not using. That's where the demand is falling. No guys, we have to only see in terms of price. Why demand is falling? Because price is rising. So we have to see it according to that way. So taste and preferences are constant, the pattern of income distribution remains same. Similarly, population is constant, and even government policy like taxes, if something is taxed highly, then the price becomes expensive, and as the price becomes expensive, our demand falls. So right, then we will say it is because of the taxes. But here in our analysis, we are just dealing with price and quantity demanded. I'm basically explaining you the assumptions. Usually people just read through it, but I'm explaining it to you so that you understand why are we assuming these things, okay? Because our analysis should only be based around these two things: price and quantity, nothing else. Okay, so all of these things have to be constant when we are studying the law of demand. So moving ahead to the two very important things, which are the demand schedule and the demand curve. Well, as the name suggests, demand schedule is basically the tabular representation of the law of demand, which shows us various prices and various quantities which are plotted. So here exactly is our demand schedule, guys, and on one side I've taken price, on the other side I've taken quantity demanded. As I just explained to you, they both hold an inverse relationship. So we say when the price is 20, we are only demanding 1. But when the price falls to 15, we start to demand 2 of units of that commodity. And as the price falls from 20 to 15 to 10 to 8 to 5, our quantity demanded increases from 1 to 2 to 4 to 7 to 10. So basically, we see our price is falling, whereas our quantity demanded is rising. Okay, so this is basically what I intend to show you through the demand schedule. Moving ahead to the demand curve. Well, what is the demand curve? It is basically the graphical representation of the law of demand, or graphical representation of this very demand schedule. Okay, So now guys, we have just plotted these things on our axis. Now I'm sure when you are studying demand, maybe you're very new to the concept of economics, new to the concept of curves. Well, maybe this is the very first curve you're going to study in economics. Then make sure you plot it very correctly. Now I'll explain to you guys. Have a look over here. Whenever you are plotting anything in economics or actually anywhere, but any graph itself, you have to label it perfectly. Only then it holds value. Otherwise, it's just like very hollow. So we see that we draw two lines, two axes. Here, this is the x-axis always, and the vertical axis is the y-axis. Okay, so we have to label that. And this point where they both meet is the O or zero. You call it the origin point. So this is what we always start our, drawing our curve with. Then we label the two axes, because without that, again, it has no meaning. So here we have price on the y-axis and quantity demanded on the x-axis. Very simple. Now we have the quantity demanded from 1 to 10. So we, plot it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We write it on the x-axis. Whereas the price, we've also plotted that on the y-axis. Okay, very simple. Now, as simple as I am calling it, it is actually, when price is 20, our quantity demanded is 1. So I've already, put these red dots for your help. So 20 over here and 1 over here, we plot this and get this point. Then when the price is 15, our quantity demanded is 2, we get this point. And then we get another point when the price is 10 and quantity demanded is 4. Then the price falls to 8, our quantity demanded increases to 7. And when the price falls to 5, now we are demanding 10 units of the commodity. So these are the very dots, and when we connect the dots, we get our very demand curve. So this is how we draw the demand curve. Make sure you label the curve. It is called DD curve. That's how you label it. It is the demand curve, guys. What is the shape of this? Well, why is the shape like this, we will study later, but what is the shape you have to learn now? It is basically downward sloping from left to right. As you can see, if we are going from left to right, and it is sloping downward. Further in future, we'll be studying supply and other curves, and you might just get very confused. But you don't get confused then. For that, you have to memorize from now demand curve, always, downward sloping from left to right. That is the shape. And you study micro, you study macro, you study any form of economics, the shape of the demand curve is not going to change. So memorize this, remember the shape, and remember how to plot a curve. So guys, let's come to the next part. Well, after law of demand, we tend to study four things in economics: extension, contraction, and increase and decrease of demand. So first, I'm going to explain you the extension and contraction of demand simultaneously. Well, this is in accord with the law of demand, which I just explained to you. And over there, we saw the changes occur due to changes in the price. Other things are constant in ceteris paribus order. So similarly, when we are doing extension and contraction, you have to remember other things have to be constant. We are only seeing the changes in price, be it rise or be it fall. Well, in case of extension, when we tend to demand more at a lower price, it is known as extension, whereas when we tend to demand less at a higher price, it is known as contraction. Okay. Now, over here, we can see when price falls from 10 to 8, demand increases from 100 to 150. Similarly, over here, we see when price rises from 10 to 12, demand falls from 100 to 80. Inverse relation in both the two. But this is because of rise in price, and this is because of fall in price. That is the difference between extension and contraction. Now come to the curve, guys. It's one simple curve. You just have to just have a look at it. Over here, we have quantity demanded. On the y-axis, we have price. Initially, we have P and Q as a quantity. Over here, you can see what happens is when price falls from 10 to 8, when a price falls, our quantity demanded is increasing. So basically, I've just shown this dotted line. Whenever you're doing the second part, like first is the solid line, second is the dotted one. It'll be easier for you to understand itself. So price falls from P to P dash, quantity demanded rises from Q to Q dash. And when we have it on the curve, which is our demand curve, we notice we tend to move from point A to B, which is known as extension of demand. We are increasing our demand because of the fall in price. This is shown by a downward movement on the demand curve. Make sure you write on. Now, I'm particular with English, but why I'm saying this is because where I'll be teaching you increase and decrease, you will definitely get confused. On the demand curve means that there are no two demand curves. There is only one demand curve, and we are moving on the curve itself. We are not shifting the curve, but we are moving on the curve. Okay. Well, this is happening because of the fall in price. As simple as that. Come here to the contraction part. If you understood this, this is also very simple for you to understand. Again, guys, we see here we have P and Q as our initial price and quantity. What happens when price rises from 10 to 12? We tend to see a quantity demanded falls. So when price is rising, quantity demanded is falling. We can see through the arrows. Again, we are moving from A to B, but in this case, A was up. Now in this case, A is down, and we are going upward on the demand curve, and hence contraction is shown by the upward movement of the demand curve. This occurs because of rise in price. So make sure that you have understood this. When you've understood the definition, the schedule, the diagram, the reasoning, the movements, you've actually understood extension and contraction of demand. Now guys, coming to increase and decrease in demand. Now in this case, this is totally opposite of what we studied from extension and contraction. In that case, we were seeing because changes were made because of the change in the price. But in increase and decrease, we are saying the changes are because of the changes in other things. Price is constant in this case. So remember that, okay? So what is increase in demand? When more is demanded at the same price, it is known as increase in demand. And decrease in demand is when less is demanded again at the same price. So here we see price is from 10 to 10 only. There is no change in price, but the quantity demanded has has risen from 100 to 150. Why does this happen? This happens because of changes in other things, but not a single movement in the price. Whereas in this case also we see that price is again 10 guys, but our quantity demanded has fallen from 100 to 80. There is a fall, there is a decrease in demand, but because of other things, price is again constant over here. Let's come to the diagram guys. Here we have x and y axis, quantity demanded and price. We notice initially our price and quantity are P and Q, which is written in red, and we notice that because of the changes in other things, which I'll be explaining to you what are they actually, we see a demand curve which initially was DD shifts from DD to DD dash, which is in green I've written, and this is black dotted line is a new curve. We have moved. You see a price hasn't changed a thing because a price is constant, right? We are on the same way. We have just one P. We don't have P dash or anything like that. But our quantity has increased from Q to Q dash, and this is actually known as the shift in the demand curve, and shift of the demand curve, actually you should be saying that. And here we see there's a rightward or upward shift of the demand curve, and that's why I was telling you on over there, because here there is a off over here, rightward, or you can also call it upward shift of the demand curve. We have an entirely new curve in increase. Okay, similarly in decrease, our initial demand curve was this, and due to changes in other things and price remains constant. See, we have only a single P, we don't have P dash. We notice guys that a quantity has fallen from Q to Q dash. Over here is a dotted new DD curve, and we see we've shifted. Over here we are noticing a leftward or a downward shift of the demand curve. So again, in increase and decrease we have two demand curves. In extension and contraction we had only one. Okay, this is rightward, this is leftward. Now why does the demand increase? Demand rises because of change in other factors. Maybe I'm earning more, that's why I'm going to consume more. There's no change in the price, but there is a rise in income, there is rise in population, or the price of the substitute changes. Similarly, vice versa conditions prevail in this case. When their demand falls, it can fall due to many reasons, guys. Maybe my tastes and preferences have changed, I don't like that good anymore, my income has fallen, the population has fallen, the price of the substitute good has changed. So due to which the demand is falling, there is no change in the price of the commodity in question. Okay, so this is basically increase and decrease. Now guys, once you've understood increase and decrease, go back and again study an extension and contraction of demand. I'm sure now you will be a little confused, but trust me guys, it's not that confusing. Understand one concept and then understand the other concept. Don't mix them. Usually what question is asked, difference is not asked between these two, but actually difference is asked between increase and extension and decrease and contraction. So now when you've studied all the four, you can just answer all the kind of differences. That's why I've made it in a tabular form, like you can actually write the differences in your answer as well. So this is all about today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. In the next video I'll be coming up with the determinants of demand. Till then, wait for my other video, and I'll see you in the next video pretty soon.